Welcome back to a new tutorial. In this video we are going to talk about how we can manage the environment variables and also how we can use .environment in Python. Using environment files is a really good practice and I'm going to be showing you when they are useful and how they can be used. Let's start coding. I'm in Visual Studio Code and you can use any code editor that you want. And in this video we are going to talk about environment files in Python. Firstly, let me show you how we can create an environment file. Like, you are going to open the directory that you are going to work your code on and you are going to add your environment file like .environment. And this is going to be your environment file. And this file is a plain text file where we store environment variables. Things like maybe API keys, database credentials, email server settings, or any configuration that shouldn't be hard-coded into your code base. And these files are useful because you can keep them out of version control, your code becomes cleaner and more secure, and the most important in my opinion is it's easy to switch between development, test and production environments. So we are going to be talking about how we can use these files in Python and what are the common examples of using. So firstly we need to have .environment, the package name is .environment, and for installing that you need to call pip if you are using Windows, pip3 if you are using Mac, install python.environment like this. When you make this run, you are going to see it's going to be installed and it's going to be ready for use. And also let me show you the version that I'm using, python.environment. I'm using the version 101. Okay. After this installation, we can directly use this package, and I'm going to create a Python file like, let's say, my app.py. And in here, now, I'm going to be showing you how we can use .environment and this environment file. Firstly, we need to use from .environment import load.environment. It's going to be useful for loading environment variables from our environment file into Python. And we are going to say import operating system like this. Next up, let's create an environment file. We have already one in here. Now I'm going to set some settings, like since it's a plain text file, I don't need to do any kind of formatting, and I will say like API key, and I'm going to set this to something like test or database user. Let's set this to something like username, and username 123. Database password is going to be password 321, and it's okay. I'm going to save this file right now, and after saving this file we can reach to this variables from Python. Like, I'm going to say in my app.py load.environment like this. Now my environment variables is loaded in Python and we can access them using operating system. Let's say API key, and it's going to be equal to the operating system. We will use get environment like this, and we are going to pass the name that we define in here, the API key. And after that we can have the environment file variable test in this API key variable, and let's print it for seeing that. Now we are going to see in the terminal that we are going to have our API key test like this. So we can also do API key equals a test like this hard-coded, but it's not a good practice because of the reasons that I listed at the start of this tutorial. And your app is going to be more secure like this. And also we can use this with others, like let's say we are going to use with database name, and we are going to say operating system get environment, and we can get the database user like this, and database password operating system get environment, and let's say database password. And after that we can use our database features, like I will say print, I will use an f string like username of the database, and I'm going to pass database name, and then I'm going to say password of the database, and I can pass database password, and I'm going to save this file. Let's make this run, and we are going to see that username of the database is the defined value in here, and password of the database is the value in here. Great, so we have our environment file ready and we are using it via the Python file we have. And the best practice side of things, you are not going to push your environment variables to Git. Like in the load.environment side, I'm just going to delete this stuff. We have a selection, the function parameter as .environment path, and we need to use this when we create environment file with a name. Like let's say custom environment file dot environment, and in here I'm going to say, let's say API key again, and it's going to be 1 2 3 4 5, and for reaching that I'm just going to try this without the .environment path to see. I will say let's say API key, it's going to be operating system get environment like this, API key, and when I print this I'm going to get an error. Like in here I'm going to say, I will run the script, and here we can see that I have none, which means that I can't get the API key from here. So how we can fix that is we can use .environment path like this, because we defined this environment name as custom environment, and when I copy that and paste it in here and save this file, now I'm going to get my API key in here easily. So if we use a different environment file name, we need to specify it with .environment path. Also, for the final part of this tutorial, I want to show you why we use custom environment file names. So let me delete this one. And generally we want different configs per environment, like development, production, and staging. Also, we are organizing large projects, or we want more descriptive file names. So let's do some examples on that. I'm going to create two files, like firstly .environment.development, and let's say like environment equals the development, and let's create environment.production, and in here I'm going to say environment production. Also let's define some values, like I will say debug true in this one and debug false in this one, like this. Now I'm going to save these files and I'm going to show you how you can use these different files. And let's go back to the myapp.py. In here I'm going to delete all this, and I will say use production variables, something like this, and this can come from the command line or any config file, doesn't matter. I'm just going to say true to this, and after that we are going to set environment file like environment.production if use production is true, like this, else environment.development, and after that I'm going to say load.environment path environment file, like this. And next I'm going to set environment like operating system get environment like this, and debug is going to be operating system get environment, and I will say debug. And we are going to print like loaded from, and we can pass the environment file name. Next we are going to say print environment, and it will be the environment. Next print debug mode, and we will say debug. So normally, since we're using the production file and we have the production file in here, we need to see these values. Let's see if we are going to get them. I'm going to make this run, and here, okay, we have a typo in here. We created the environment file without dot, so it's not returning. I didn't see that one, so I'm just going to fix that. I'm going to add dot like this, and now we have this environment file. I'm going to save them. So I'm going to make this run again, and we are going to see loaded from environment.production. Environment is production, not the development. So we have the production in here, and debug mode is false. Great. So this was it for the coding part, and I highly recommend using environment variables on your apps. It's more safe and better practice to use. As you can see, we can switch between the development and production environments easily with this environment files. Like you can see, I just set this to false, and we get the development environment with debug mode true. Let's get to the outro. Thanks for watching this tutorial. I'm sharing new data science videos every week on my channel. You can subscribe for more videos like this. Have a great day.